Hey everyone. I've been meaning to share this story for a while, but every time I try to talk about it, my throat tightens up and I feel that same cold dread creeping back. I'm Jake, 32, just a regular guy from a small city on the East Coast. A few weeks ago, I went through a rough breakup with my girlfriend of 5 years, Sarah. It was the kind of breakup that leaves you hollow, questioning everything you thought you knew about yourself. I needed to get away, to clear my head, so I decided to go on a solo camping trip. No friends, no distractions, just me and the wilderness. I chose Blackthorn Forest Preserve, about 2 hours drive from my apartment. It's not your typical campground with RVs and families roasting marshmallows. Blackthorn is remote, dense with ancient trees, and known for its winding trails that can make even experienced hikers second-guess themselves. There's no cell service past the first mile, and the place has a reputation for being off. Locals tell stories about people going missing, but I brushed those off as campfire tales. I just wanted solitude, and Blackthorn seemed perfect. I arrived on a Friday afternoon, my old Jeep bouncing along the dirt road to the trailhead. The air was crisp, smelling of pine and damp earth. I hiked about a mile to a clearing near a small stream, where I set up my tent. The spot was beautiful. Sunlight dappled through the leaves, and the stream gurgled softly. I started a small fire, cooked some dinner, and watched the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and purple. For a moment, I felt like I was healing, like the weight of the breakup was lifting. But as night fell, something changed. The forest grew darker than I expected, the kind of dark that swallows your flashlight beam. The sounds, crickets, owls, the rustle of leaves, felt normal at first, but then they started to feel wrong, like they were too loud, too deliberate. I got this prickling sensation on the back of my neck, like someone was watching me. I scanned the trees with my flashlight, but there was nothing, just shadows and branches swaying in the wind. I told myself it was just my imagination, probably stress from the breakup. I decided to turn in early, zipping myself into my sleeping bag. But sleep didn't come easy. Every snap of a twig, every rustle of leaves made my heart jump. I kept telling myself it was just animals, maybe a deer or a fox. But around midnight, I heard something that stopped my breath. A low, guttural growl close to my tent. It wasn't like any animal I'd ever heard. It was deeper, almost human, but twisted, like it came from something that didn't belong here. I lay frozen, listening, but the sound didn't repeat. The silence that followed was worse, heavy and oppressive, like the forest was holding its breath. I didn't sleep much that night, jumping at every noise, my mind racing with thoughts of what could be out there. When morning came, I felt a wave of relief. The sun was up, birds were singing, and the forest looked peaceful again. I laughed at myself for being so paranoid. It was just one bad night, right? I decided to spend the day hiking, exploring the trails, and enjoying the fresh air. But as evening approached, that uneasy feeling crept back, stronger than before. I decided I'd stay one more night and head back in the morning. Big mistake. That second night, things got worse. I was lying in my tent, trying to sleep, when I heard footsteps. Clear, deliberate footsteps, circling my tent. They weren't the random scuffling of an animal. They were slow, measured, like someone was pacing around me. My heart pounded as I sat up, clutching my flashlight. "Who's there?" I called out, trying to sound tough. No answer, just the continued crunch of leaves. I shone my flashlight through the tent fabric, but I couldn't see anything. The footsteps stopped abruptly. I waited, holding my breath, but there was nothing. Then, I heard whispers, soft, hissing voices, speaking words I couldn't make out. They were right outside the tent, so close I could almost feel the breath behind them. My skin crawled, and I gripped my flashlight like a weapon. I couldn't stay in the tent anymore. I had to know what was out there. I unzipped the tent and stepped out, my flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. The clearing was empty, or so I thought. Then I saw it, a figure standing at the edge of the trees, just beyond the reach of my light. It was tall, unnaturally so, with long, spindly arms and a head that seemed too large, tilted at an odd angle. Its eyes glowed faintly, like embers in a fire, and it was staring right at me. I froze, my breath caught in my throat. The figure didn't move, just stood there watching. Then, slowly, it raised one arm and pointed at me. That snapped me out of it. I stumbled back into the tent, zipping it up with shaking hands. I grabbed my phone. No signal, of course. I was completely alone. I spent the rest of the night wide awake, every sense on high alert. Every rustle, every snap of a twig felt like a threat. I kept my flashlight on, pointed at the tent entrance, ready for anything. But nothing came. When morning finally broke, I was exhausted but alive. I decided I was done. I had to get out of there. I packed up my gear as fast as I could and loaded it into my Jeep. But when I turned the key, nothing happened. The engine was dead. I checked under the hood, but I'm no mechanic. Everything looked fine, but the car wouldn't start. Panic set in. I couldn't stay another night, not with whatever was out there. I decided to walk out. It was a 2-hour drive, so maybe a 4-hour hike. I grabbed my backpack with some water, food, and my flashlight, and set off down the trail. But after about an hour, I realized I was lost. The trail didn't look familiar, and the trees all looked the same. The path seemed to twist in ways I didn't remember, like the forest was playing tricks on me. That's when I saw the cabin, small, dilapidated, half hidden by vines and overgrowth. It looked like it hadn't been touched in decades. Desperate for any sign of help, I approached and pushed open the creaking door. Inside, it was dusty and dark, with broken furniture and tattered curtains. On a small table, there was a journal, surprisingly intact. I opened it and started reading. It was dated from 1995, written by a man named Elias, who had come to Blackthorn for a hunting trip with friends. They got separated, and he started experiencing strange things, noises at night, feeling watched, seeing figures in the woods. His entries grew more frantic over time. One read, "They're always there, just out of sight. The watchers, they don't want me to leave." Another entry caught my eye. Elias mentioned meeting a woman named Sarah, who had a cabin nearby. She told him stories about the watchers, ancient spirits that guarded the forest, protecting it from outsiders. She said they could be appeased with offerings, but if you angered them, they'd never let you go. My heart skipped a beat. Sarah? My Sarah? It couldn't be a coincidence. She'd mentioned once that her grandparents had a place up north, but I never paid much attention. Was this the same place? Elias's last entry was chilling. "They're coming for me. I can hear them outside. The watchers. They don't want me to leave. If you find this, don't stay. Run." I dropped the journal, my hands trembling. This was exactly what I was experiencing. Were the watchers real? And what did they want from me? I had to find a way out, but first, I needed answers. Elias mentioned a shrine deep in the woods where Sarah had left an offering. Maybe if I could find it, I could appease the watchers and escape. I followed Elias's directions, heading deeper into the forest. The trees grew thicker, the light dimmer, and the air felt heavy, like it was pressing down on me. After what felt like hours, I found it. A small clearing with a stone altar, covered in moss and vines. Around it were carved totems, depicting grotesque figures with elongated limbs and hollow eyes. They looked like the figure I'd seen. On the altar, there was a space for offerings. I didn't have much, but I pulled out a photo from my wallet. One of me and Sarah from happier times. It felt right somehow. I placed it on the altar and stepped back, waiting. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the wind picked up, rustling the leaves violently. I heard whispers again, but this time, they sounded almost grateful. The figures appeared again, forming a circle around the clearing. They didn't approach, just stood there watching. I felt a strange calm, like maybe I'd done the right thing. But as I turned to leave, I saw something on the photo. A message, written in what looked like blood. "Thank you for remembering her. Now you can join her." My heart stopped. Join her? What did that mean? Was Sarah here? Had something happened to her in these woods? I didn't wait to find out. I ran, clutching my backpack, desperate to find my way back. The forest seemed to fight me, branches snagging my clothes, roots tripping me up. But somehow, I made it back to my campsite. My Jeep was still there, but now there was another note on the hood. "You can't leave. You're one of us now." I tore it apart, my hands shaking with fear and anger. This wasn't a joke. Something was very wrong here. As dusk fell, the whispers and footsteps returned, closer than ever. I knew I couldn't stay. I remembered reading that some entities fear fire. So I gathered every piece of wood I could find and built a massive bonfire in the clearing. The flames roared, casting flickering shadows on the trees. I saw the figures again, but they stayed at the edge of the light, their glowing eyes fixed on me. They didn't like the fire. I kept the bonfire going all night, feeding it with anything that would burn. By morning, I was exhausted, my throat raw from smoke, but the figures were gone. I tried the Jeep again, and this time, it started. I didn't question it. I floored it out of there, not looking back. Back in the city, I tried to move on. I showered, ate, and slept for what felt like days. But the experience didn't leave me. My apartment felt colder, even with the heat on. I started hearing whispers at night, faint but unmistakable. Shadows moved in the corners of my vision, gone when I turned to look. Then, one evening, my phone rang. It was Sarah's number, the one she had before she changed it after our breakup. I hesitated, my heart pounding, but I answered. At first, there was just static. Then, a whisper. "You shouldn't have left." The line went dead. I tried calling back, but the number was disconnected. I checked my wallet. The photo of me and Sarah was gone. That's when I knew I hadn't escaped. Whatever was in those woods, it followed me home. I hear them at night. Soft footsteps, whispers calling my name. Sometimes I see them outside my window, just glimpses of those glowing eyes in the dark. I don't know what the watchers want, but I know they're not done with me. So if you're watching this and thinking about a solo trip to the woods, take my advice, don't. Some places hold secrets that are better left alone.